some people don't know this, but Miley Cyrus was not born Miley Cyrus. She was actually born Destiny Cyrus, but she changed her name legally to Miley because Destiny is a boy's name. No, seriously, she changed her name because it's a stupid fucking name. So I would ask Steven a series of questions regarding the Kyle Rittenhouse trial. Beginning with this, did you, in fact, Steven, refer to Emma Vigeland from the Majority Report as a vapid dipshit and a stupid fuck because she was questioning the objectivity of the judge in the case? She pointed out a case, some of his past, a decision from his past, in which he required a person who had been convicted of shoplifting to inform the manager of every store she shopped at that she was a thief. You called Emma Vigeland a stupid fuck for pointing that out. I got a few other ones. The judge recently had a case overturned from 2008. He admitted evidence that he was not supposed to admit in an attempt to railroad a possibly innocent person into a life sentence. Yet, he would not allow evidence of Kyle Rittenhouse wishing aloud that he could shoot protesters. He also would not allow the victims to be referred to as victims, but he would allow them to be referred to as rioters and looters. But she's a vapid dipshit for pointing this out. That's your claim. Isn't it true, Stephen, that you recently claimed that fascism is when someone is not allowed due process? That's what you said. Is this you?
Like, the rioting needs to fucking stop. And if that means, like, white redneck fucking militia dudes out there mowing down dipshit protesters that think that they could torch buildings at 10 p.m., then at this point they have my fucking blessing, because holy shit, this fucking... And if that means, like, white red...
That is you. Is it true that
Like, up to, like, 62% of...
Is that an example of due process? Isn't it true that you're trying to tell us something, Stephen? When you say only fascists? Fascism is when someone is not allowed due process. Isn't it true that you claimed Grosskreutz, the medic who had his arm shot off by Rittenhouse? Isn't it true that you claimed that Grosskreutz was a felon and should not be allowed to carry a firearm? You also claimed that he was burning down buildings, too. But isn't it true that Grosskreutz was never charged with those crimes? In fact, he was never even charged with attacking Kyle Rittenhouse. How can you claim that Rittenhouse acted in self-defense if there was no evidence of aggression on the part of Grosskreutz? Isn't it true that you kept your mouth shut during the prosecutor's questioning of Kyle Rittenhouse when the prosecutor asked Rittenhouse, why is it that he was in fear of his life, but Grosskreutz was not in fear of his life? Isn't it true that your girlfriend is not your girlfriend, but is in fact an actress who pretends to be your girlfriend? If so, is she paid by appearance on your show? Is she paid by photograph? Do you pay her by the week? How does that work exactly? Isn't it true that you claim the word fascist, using the word fascist, hurts society somehow? but white people saying the N-word does not hurt society. Isn't it true that Lee Greenwood wrote a song called God Bless the USA, and that song was on the judge's cell phone? And isn't it true that only psychopaths like that song? I mean, there's a universe filled with all sorts of songs. Jazz songs, country songs, rap songs, classical songs. Isn't it true that that song was also Donald Trump's campaign theme, as well as Ronald Reagan's campaign theme and George W. Bush's campaign theme, and that George W. Bush appointed Lee Greenwood to the National Endowment for the Arts, to the board of the National Endowment for the NEA? And isn't it true that Lee Greenwood was required to assassinate a baby with his bare hands and donate it to the devil in order to get that position? Isn't that a fact? Isn't it a fact that you constantly sound like you're coughing up words? Stephen, isn't it a fact that when you go to a bar, you order a Bloody Mary? Stephen, isn't it a fact that you claim that people steal your takes? And isn't it a fact that takes is just another word for opinions? And that most of your opinions are pretty basic and are shared by a lot of people, and the ones that aren't are just wrong? Outrageously wrong? Isn't you accusing someone of stealing your takes comparable to a crazy person accusing me of stealing cockroaches from his underwear? Or isn't it comparable to, say, Joe Rogan accusing someone of stealing his jokes? Why? Why would they? Isn't it true at a recent Twitch stream you claimed that there were fireworks in the background unironically? How could fireworks be in the background ironically? Would it be like when a slave owner celebrates the 4th of July, celebrates freedom on the 4th of July? You mean those ironic fireworks? You can't have fireworks in the background unironically, because you can't have fireworks in the background ironically. Isn't it true that you claimed Ahmaud Arbery had it coming? That's why you don't cover his trial in your stream, because you don't want something nasty to slip out and get banned from Twitch again? Isn't it true that you claim that you said that people should not be allowed to make jokes about Kyle Rittenhouse having man sex in a prison shower if he gets convicted, and yet you laughed at the idea of Anthony Huber getting a bullet shot directly through his heart? Isn't it true that Grosskreutz was trying to disarm Rittenhouse? That he had made it very clear to Rittenhouse that he meant him no harm? That he only pulled his gun as a precaution because he was confronting an active shooter and attempting to disarm that active shooter? That he was there to help people and protect people? And he felt that his duty to stop a domestic terrorist from attacking peaceful protesters? Isn't it true that Grosskreutz is actually the hero and not Rittenhouse, as you've claimed? Isn't it true that it's directly antithetical to Kyle Rittenhouse's political philosophy to help others who are not in his quote-unquote tribe? Isn't it true that Rittenhouse knew Grosskreutz was attempting to disarm him and detain him because he had heard Grosskreutz shouting at others to leave him alone, to leave Rittenhouse alone, and that Rittenhouse was attempting to elude capture? It was only after he had talked to his parents, to his mother, etc., that he realized that there was no getting away, that his weak soul would never be able to survive in some other fucking country. And that he had a better shot at survival if he claimed self-defense in Kenosha, Wisconsin, where you might be able to sell something like that. Isn't it true that Grosskreitz's arm is worth more than Kyle Rittenhouse's life? Isn't it a fact that the Asian food joke that the judge told that you were defending was so incoherent, it would require a Sean Hannity Fox News decoder ring to decipher? And even once you've deciphered that joke, it would still be really, really not funny. Oh, wait. Also, isn't it also true that you think Lee Greenwood is the greatest songwriter who ever lived? Isn't it true that you won't answer these questions because you're a pussy right in your heart? Isn't it true that you identify with Kyle Rittenhouse? His fear of others, his fear of fighting with his hands. I remember Anthony Cumia from Opie and Anthony, the end of the Opie and Anthony show. It was over before this, but the actual end, the official end of the Opie and Anthony show, happened because Anthony Cumia had gotten into a confrontation with a woman who was attacking him physically. And he was surrounded by a mob of black men who were daring him to fight back. Anthony Cumia is a racist. This must have injured his pride to a degree that some people can understand. Most people can understand, but it's one of those. You know what I mean? Yet, Anthony Cumia also is one of the rare citizens of New York who has a concealed carry permit. He had a gun on him at the time. He didn't pull that gun out. He didn't even show it to the mob of angry black men who were surrounding him. Isn't it true that you or Rittenhouse, people like yourselves, would pull that gun and shoot that woman out of fear and anger because neither of you can control your emotions? Because you got balls this small. Isn't it true that you said all protesters are violent provocateurs? Including MLK, who you said was against riots. And we'll ignore that contradiction there that you made. But just to make this point, I read what Martin Luther King said about riots, and he said that he could not condemn riots without condemning the systems that caused those riots. It's like saying somebody is pro-riot is like saying somebody is pro-abortion. Nobody is pro anything. These things happen. They have causes. You either want to remedy the cause or you want to go around mowing down protesters.
Approve of like BLM's aims.
I'm pretty sure that it went from like 62% approval in white voters to like 30.
You know, I can't find it right now, but I do want to ask a question about that, though. One more question. We'll save it for another time.